Hi, my name is William Wood, creator of the Lifestyle Profits Academy. I help entrepreneurs take their personal and professional performance to the next level by helping them reach their goals and live their dream lifestyle. Today's show is dedicated to your success, helping you deepen your understanding of personal space, body language, and listening. While you're listening to today's show, I want to encourage you to ask yourself this question. Who else might benefit from the information I just learned? As a few people come to your mind, will you share the link to today's episode? It only takes one idea to totally change someone else's life. And all you have to do is share the link. How cool is that? When you leave a comment below this post, you'll be automatically entered into a contest to win a copy of the book, Just Listen. Discover the Secret to Get Through to Absolutely Anyone by Mark Goulston, who talks about the power that listening has to influence others. All you need to do to win your copy of Goulston's book is post a meaningful comment below immediately after listening to today's episode. One person who leaves a meaningful comment will win a free copy of the book shipped directly to their home or business. Now, let's dive into today's training on personal space, body language, and listening. The fifth segment in our series on listening.
Just listening. And it's not the skills, it's the intention. You know, one of the things that I had written down here is that when you enter into a conversation, enter into the conversation truly interested. I am a curious person by nature.
Right.
And so when you say something, I want to know. Like, tell me more about it.
Right.
I mean, I've listened to some of the most boring people that has ever graced this rock floating through space. And I have just come away, just been like, that was fascinating.
Why are they grazing? That's what I want to know. Why are they grazing? I mean,
oh, grazing? Did it sound grazing? I said gracing.
Oh, grazing. I was imagining this really boring person, like bent over, like eating grass. So,
like, what? I could see.
Cows need therapy too. I'm just saying. It's like equine therapy, but it'd be what, bovine therapy?
Hey, you know, there are individuals who I know would really benefit from it. So being truly interested in your bovine friend, the messages that they have to say.
Well, they're grazing.
So tell me, how does that piece of hay taste? I see you've moved to a new patch. Interesting.
Oh man.
So the other thing is that, so not only do you want to be truly interested or intrigued, I mean, you just want to be a curious person. I mean, I learn the most from my kids,
right,
and the children around, because they are just the most curious people that have grazed this earth. And they do graze through my refrigerator quite heavily. But what I've observed is that people get to a point where they just know everything, and then they stop being curious. And then the moment they're no longer curious, the conversation just ends. You know, you can't say anything to them, right, because they're like, I already know, right? So being truly interested and curious, like, how do you see this? How are you experiencing this particular event? I mean, really, earlier I mentioned something very personal, and I would love to have a conversation where I was able to, so tell me, what was your experience in that conference call really like? I want to know, and just be totally honest. And then the other attribute that really contributes to what you were talking about in terms of the power, this isn't just like technical, like here's step A, B, and C, but the characteristic or the attributes of the individual is being genuinely concerned about receiving the message and about the person, whether you really dislike the person or not. You want to be genuinely concerned.
Yeah. Well, if the conversation is worth having, it's worth listening. And wow, I'm not saying that it's always worth having a conversation with someone, but if you are going to enter in to influence somebody, if you're going to enter into the process of engaging in conversation, you need to think about how you're going to do that. And those first three steps are critical. Mm-hmm. So the fourth step, so let's review the steps real quick. So we've got empty your cup. We've got create a good emotional state inside of yourself. And sometimes that's as simple for me as looking at the other person or imagining the other person and just thinking, I want to connect. I'm fully present. And that's enough to do it. Sometimes I need to go through a little ritual, like a little breath focus ritual or something to ground my energy into the present moment. And if I'm in a session with a client and I feel our energy's wandering, I'll actually do that with a client. I'll say, let's spend a minute just getting fully present so that we can be really totally focused in on what's going on here. And then we both just be quiet. We close our eyes, focus on our breath, and then come back with full attention. Mm-hmm. And that's been really useful for me. I've done that at home as well, although I probably am more consistent about doing it in the office. Now, the last step to listening is listening skills. And the beauty is that there are just incredible skills that have been developed, some of which are so powerful that there are certain groups that have wanted to limit the training of these skills because they say only professionals should have these skills in their hands. And yet I think all of us are professionals. All of us have children. All of us have spouses. All of us, are in business. All of us have products or services that we represent in one way, shape, or form, even if it's just us in our services to our boss. And so what are some of the major listening skills and how can they be used? The first thing that you already touched on is the use of your body. Listening has more to do than just listening to words, meaning when someone is sending communication, a fraction of the meaning that they're communicating actually happens with the words they speak. Mm-hmm. The large majority of the meaning of a phrase is going to come in the body posture and in the voice tone that the person uses. I mean, just listening right now on the radio, listen to the difference in this phrase. I love you. 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 You know I love you. Right? Have you ever heard someone say that? But seriously, it's like, for those of you that are at home, you could probably think of another 15 ways to communicate that phrase. Mm-hmm. And so if all I was doing was just listening to the words, then I'm missing the vast majority of that conversation. I was talking to a friend, a single friend, and he was out at a dance and he had just taken this girl out on a first date and they went dancing. And there was another girl there that he kind of knew and he kind of liked. Well, he didn't want to just ditch his date, so he went and he said to her, is it okay if I go dance with my other friend? Well, she leaned back, she crossed her arms, her eyes narrowed, and she looked at him and said, if you want. Just like that, right? He was like, now he was a real literal guy. Now, his brain registered it later, right? Uh-huh. But in the moment, he's like, oh, she thinks it's okay, right? Cool. It's cool. So he went and danced with this other girl. And it wasn't like anything crazy, but he danced with her a dance or two. And then he came back and she was gone. Oh. And he's like, what happened? Right? And then he was racking his brain. He's talking to his buddy and his buddy was there. And he's like, dude, didn't you see her like shoot laser beams into you with her eyes? Right? And so one of the key listening skills is just to remember you've got to listen with your eyes. Mm-hmm. You've got to listen with your ears, but not just to the words. You've got to listen to the inflections that people use. When they say it, are they saying it with certainty? Are they saying it with doubt? Are they saying it with hate? What's the emotion behind the phrase? And all of that is perceived with the eyes and with the ears as you're tuning in to voice tone. Now, if you're a guy, this is like a revelation. Most guys are literal, not most guys, but like a lot of guys are literal listeners, right? Uh-huh. It's the engineer mind. It's like, she said she didn't want me to surprise her. Well, yeah, that's what she said with her mouth, right? But like everything else that she's been doing for like 3 months tells you that she wants you to surprise her, right? Yeah. You need like, really? How do I hear that and see that? Well, you got to start opening your eyes and paying attention. And part of that means taking your attention off of whatever internal world you've got going on and just putting it on the other person. If you start doing that, you'll start perceiving just a tremendous amount more. So that's the first real skill. In a long listening workshop, we might actually spend a lot of time talking about that. I think another second important part of the skill base that has nothing to do with being too techniquey is to mind your use of space. Mm-hmm. The way that you set up your space to listen is going to influence the person's feeling of safety. And gosh, without going into a lot of training, a couple of tips. Probably most people are going to feel more comfortable with you off to one side or the other of them. Sitting directly across from someone sometimes, not always, but sometimes can create a confrontational feel. You got to gauge the person on that, and you can gauge it in their body language. Interestingly enough, most people will have a preference as to which side you talk to them on. So some people will respond much better on your right or on your left. And whenever I teach a live event, a lot of people are skeptical about this until I actually demonstrate it. And you can literally, as you're talking to somebody, you're going to naturally probably turn one side or the other of your body towards the person. And if that happens to be the side that they're comfortable on, they'll either stay where they're at or they might even lean in a little bit. If you sidle up to the side of somebody where they're not comfortable while you're standing, almost always there is a micro lean away, or people will put their foot in between you and them to create space. And I've done this thousands of times now as I've demonstrated this, and consistently this surprises people, and this will surprise professionals who've spent their whole life thinking about it. I taught this once to a group of psychotherapists, and there was one psychotherapist that was really having a hard time communicating with one of his clients, and all he did the next time she came in was sit in a chair on the other side of her and held the session, and the session went completely differently by gauging the use of space. So there's a use of space that's there. There's also distance things. In the United States, if a guy gets too close to a gal, unless they're in an intimate relationship or something, it's like, whoa, it can create like a weird energy, right? Or if you're a real touchy person and the other person's not a touchy person, it can create a real funny energy in the room. So your use of your body is going to influence and impact your ability to listen.
So if I can interject here,
Sure.
It's really interesting because having studied Kung Fu, which is a very close contact martial art, and sticky hands, right? And the preference that, I got to a point where I was very, very comfortable in being just within inches of an individual because I
inches or something, right?
Yeah, literally inches, and constantly being in contact with people. And I got to a point where a lot of my personal conversations, that I was very comfortable with that close proximity. But in retrospect, as I look back, I can see when even though I was comfortable, people would step back. Now let's flash forward to now living in New York. It had been a number of years since I had practiced Kung Fu. And so I had established a little bit different of a personal boundary. And now I'm here in New York, and there's an individual who was very comfortable at being super close. Shared a great message. This individual was very friendly, had no intention of making a pass at me or anybody, but was just very comfortable at standing very, very close.
Too close. Inside of your personal space bubble.
Yeah.
Here's a good rule of thumb. Extend your hand directly out in front of you, fingertips pointing straight out. So it's like your arm is at a 90-degree angle to the floor. And then lift your palm, so keeping your arm parallel to the floor, raise your fingertips straight up. That's about where most people's personal space bubble goes to. Now, if you've got two people talking, like if Christian and I were talking to each other as two guys here in the United States, our bubbles would need to just barely be touching each other to stay in a good, comfortable contact, which means that if you're a taller person, you actually need to give people a little bit more space. That would mean that it's like in your imagination, you imagine that they have their arm extended and you have your arm extended and your palms are not touching.
Sure.
If you're right about there, in most situations, you're going to be pretty safe. If it's with the opposite gender, you may even want to add 6 or 8 inches. Now that's the US, that's very different. I had a friend from Europe, and he would come try to have a conversation with me, and the normal talking range was about 6 inches, nose to nose. Mm-hmm. And so he would come up, and I wasn't used to that, and it was like I would retract, and he would follow me, and it was like this like backwards dance. It was pretty crazy until finally I kind of breathed into it. I'm like, okay, this is normal for him. And it's like, here we are talking almost nose to nose. It's like I can catch his spit in my mouth. I know that's probably a graphic,
I was going to say, a good way to combat that would be just to go.
This is back in my college days. And he was married. I was married. There was no romantic interest. This was a cultural difference. And so culture by culture, it's going to be a little bit different. So, one of the things that you can pay attention to is how do you know if somebody's uncomfortable with you? Mm-hmm. It's in a micro or a macro lean away.
Mm-hmm.
If they start to lean away from you or move back from you, or if you see them fidgeting with their chair and, trying to move their chair into a different spot or something like that, you're probably not paying attention and minding your space. And it's going to affect your ability to create that safe environment that's going to help them open up to you.
If you liked the training you got today, you will love The Daily Show, which airs 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. To subscribe, scroll to the bottom of this page and enter your name and best email address. Most days, you'll hear from David Wood, my financial freedom mentor. One day a week, you'll hear from me. You'll also get several bonuses when you subscribe today, including a free MP3 version of my words training. This 50-minute MP3 training teaches you how to use your words to create influence and reprogram your subconscious mind. When you scroll down and subscribe to The Daily Show, you'll also get a free PDF of today's message and an MP3 version that you can listen to on the go to reinforce today's ideas deep into your subconscious mind. You'll become more powerful on your path to freedom because you're reinforcing the principles that will create your success, freedom, and lifestyle. I look forward to seeing you again soon next time. This is William Wood, and I believe in you.